missing a couple of people. It looks a bit spaced out and gappy, but it also looks like we're about to go racing. We are. And the 26, Jonathan Wilson it is, that leads them away. The 22 and the 21, Todd White and Reno DeMarco side by side for second position. DeMarco, has he moved up to second place? Yes, he has. Reno DeMarco has made up some places there then in the opening stages, or a place in the opening stages. The four at this event in the heats. He'd like to do so in one of the finals later on in the day. Finals will be ongoing from a little after 3 o'clock onwards, as long as we stay to schedule. Jonathan Wilson that leads them through at the conclusion of this first lap then. Marco and Todd White following each other through second and third. Then it's Sam Grayson, Anderson and Dom Hughes-Clary up in 6th position. We saw Hughes-Clary running well in his previous heat a little earlier on in the morning. One of those drivers who was drawn into the Heat 2 run. Might be a bit sore for it over lunch break. The leading trio led by Wilson. Grayson with a little bit of wiggle room in 4th place. I don't think it'll be too long before Dom Hughes-Clary starts to make up places though. Strong place there in 6th. Ian Anderson has moved up to 4th on that lap. It's these heavyweight division drivers. Momentum very important here, especially if you're on the heaviest, it makes a mighty difference in terms of the pickup out of these turns. Looks like Ian Anderson is driving the most measured of the top 4. He seems to be a bit smoother, certainly, than Todd White directly ahead of him. Sided up that top 3 in pretty efficient fashion, it must be said. Ooh, and there goes the move down at paddock. Doesn't leave much space for Todd White, but Todd simply uses that runoff area. Hughes-Clary, incidentally, has now moved up to 5th position. Now, has he got time? He certainly does have time to close in on these leading 4. Todd White, I think, is going to try and mount a fight back. Ian Anderson certainly thinks so, as he goes defensive, looking over the shoulder. Not entirely confident that he's got the measure of Todd White yet. Hughes-Clary is leading that second train, which also includes Robert Bannis. Both in the same stable, that being the Sign Speed outfit. Front of the field, Wilson and DeMarco have been unflinching in their holds over 1st and 2nd place respectively, but I think Ian Anderson has the pace to put a cat among the pigeons very quickly here. DeMarco further back than I'd think, down in 9th place. Just ahead of Phil Jackson and Kevin Taylor-Beebe, and up into 2nd place there has gone Ian Anderson. I think I saw Reno DeMarco gesticulate there as well to say, take the lead and bring me to Jonathan Wilson. So Anderson is now going to try and latch on to the back of the 26. I think he may be leading 4. Turn through Garda Bend. Just approaching half distance here. Is Anderson trying to work with Wilson, or is he trying to dispatch Wilson at this stage? Anderson looks over the shoulder there. DeMarco still very much in touch. think there's much give in pace between Wilson and DeMarco. And Anderson briefly looking to the inside of Wilson. Didn't have the momentum to draw alongside for the S's. Over the curbs they go. Downhill through paddock once again. Around the Garda bend. Then onto Cafe Curve. See there, well, that's been very recently resurfaced at Cafe Curve. Sure, that will get a bit shiny and damp in the wet, but that's going to be in our considerations booklet for today. Anderson having a look to the inside of Wilson once again, getting a bit more racy, and so is Reno DeMarco, who puts himself to the inside of Anderson. DeMarco then taking second place, and now Todd White trying to reclaim third from Ian Anderson. I think DeMarco was biding his time there for a couple of laps and has gotten rather bored of being in third place. Oh, and wide there from Jonathan Wilson. Didn't get the best run through paddock. Anderson fights back on DeMarco to reclaim second place. Up the inside at Garda he goes. It's Wilson from Anderson, from DeMarco, from White once again as they come across the line. 4 minutes and change of this race left to go. Anderson, the holder of the fastest lap of the race, but he's not going to be achieving that kind of speed when having to defend from Reno DeMarco, as we see there into the first hairpin. Todd White to the inside of DeMarco. DeMarco tries to set himself up for a good run out of the corner, but he has to settle for returning to fourth place for now. Bannister and Hughes Clary are about 3 seconds back from this leading quartet. Will they have time to get there? I think it's rather going to depend on how much side by side, how much stifling of each other's momentum there will be among the leading four. Personally, I think the leading four are free to contest their positions without Bannister and Hughes Clary getting there. I don't think the gap in pace is quite significant enough, but we'll have to see. Just coming up on 3 minutes to go. Anderson on the back of Wilson. Through the S's they go. Downhill sweeping through the sign sweep, Pullman's paddock. Now once again towards Garda, and Anderson pulls the pin, goes for the lead. Ian Anderson has made that move a few times already today, and this time it put him through into the lead. His first lead lap of the race then. And Wilson under immediate scrutiny from Todd White behind him. Certainly Todd White could become Ian Anderson's best friend here if he makes a lunge and costs both himself and Wilson time. Can Wilson retaliate? Wilson led every lap of the race prior to the previous tour. But now Anderson, who's done a pretty surgical job of climbing through the pack to this point, is on the stern. It's the main building they go once again. Wilson homing in there in the slipstream as they turn into the first corner. Not quite close enough for a move there. Will he maybe consider a lunge at the hairpin? No, not quite able to make a valid move there. I think we should be on the penultimate lap of the race now. So running out of time, running out of opportunities, and running out of yards is Jonathan Wilson to try and reclaim that lead from Anderson. And there goes Wilson. He goes for it at Paddock Bend. He's got the inside for Garda. They're still side by side. And it's going to be Wilson back to the front of the field. They're going to see the last lap board this time by. Anderson has one tour of Buckmore Park between himself at the checkered flag, and can he find a way around Jonathan Wilson? Todd White still very much in amongst it as well, but he's got Reno DeMarco for company on the apex of the first hairpin. Robert Bannister is sneaking into this top four battle in the back of shot, but I don't think he's going to get there in time. Anderson has lost a few kart lengths there to Jonathan Wilson through the first sequence of bends, but closes in nicely through paddock, but he's cost himself a lot of momentum trying to get to the inside of Wilson, and there goes Reno DeMarco. He stuffs it up the inside, 3 wide for second place. It's going to be a drag race to the line between Anderson, White, and possibly DeMarco as well. Jonathan Wilson wins the heat, and it will be Anderson for second place. White and DeMarco third and fourth place ahead of Rob Bannister. Surprised that Dom Hughes Clary only got as far as 6th place aboard the 17. But a pretty dramatic heat there between Wilson and Anderson in particular. But it was Jonathan Wilson ultimately who came up trumps